to introduce Esteban. And Esteban Davila currently holds the SMB segment, so small, medium business segment, and channel marketing role at Hewlett-Packard Canada. He's responsible for marketing strategies and business priorities delivered in an integrated go-to-market for business printing and commercial PCs in the small and medium business segment. Esteban has over 20 plus years of marketing experience in cosmetics, consumer electronics, and B2B marketing. He has spent the last 5 years at HP Canada in B2C and B2B marketing roles, where he's recognized as a part of America's marketing top talent. Very good. And so we've got, some a recognizable name here. As well, he has received Canada's People's Choice Award nomination in Q4 of 2013 for outstanding performance in the areas of innovation, talent, and or growth. Today, Esteban actively, and this is what's really cool about Esteban, he actively participates in the mentorship programs here at ACCES and supporting newcomers through integration process in Canada with TRIAC and ACCES Employment. So I think that's really cool that he's actually giving back as a newcomer. At some point you had that experience, but now giving back and helping people find jobs, and as a mentor, and really lending your expertise both as someone who came here and did some awesome work, and also helping people to integrate into their roles as well. So
it's an amazing process, and one thing I owe to Canada is the learning that is important to give back, and I really enjoy and very proud of that. I think these type of events are great, and I'm really happy that ACCES continues improving themselves in making more, more people in your shoes understand things or insights that we can provide you. So my aim for today is basically to cover some of the things I've learned about SMB segment in Canada. So I do have some stats that I wrote down, and I would love to share those with you. As well, I want to share some of the things that have worked well for me. Just to give you a little bit of a background, it took me 2 years to find my job at HP. Actually, I rejoined HP after 2 years after I landed here, and then I had to prove myself. So basically, what were the things that I was showing to my managers or to other colleagues that made them think, well, not only he has the potential, well, we might like to move him from a consumer position to a B2B position. So I'm happy to share those with you. I'm thinking of the reason why is basically helping you navigate into how do you look or search for backgrounds into the things that you're interested in doing. It's important through the hiring process to show that you have the interest, that you have find out the information, and I'm hoping some of the stats that I'm able to give you today might help you, whether you're looking for a position in this segment or any other segment, to try to envision what is it that you need to learn or to know. I understand how it is not knowing, and also some of the challenges when we first come here. But basically, what I'm hoping to leave you is that it all comes down to attitude. It all comes down that once you understand a little bit more of the market, your transferable skills will be there to work in your favor. And at the end, to be open. I was telling to some people I met before, you came here because you're looking for opportunities. You might as well learn as much as you can about this country, as same as you learn about a segment or about the job position that you'd like to go for. You have to be open, you have to be excited, you have to be happy for the winter that is coming. But the worst thing you can do is to start complaining about winter. Just enjoy it, just enjoy the ride. The ride is amazing. You learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about your colleagues. The cold.
Yes,
I learned a lot already from Rebecca's presentation. Definitely, I would love to have you maybe talk to her about opportunities for us to do things in content marketing. So I'm going to start with the stats. And I was saying before, Canada is a large country, but a lot of things are small. We're only 35 million people in Canada, just round number. There are above 1 million small medium businesses in Canada, so over 1 million. 97%, almost all of them, employ less than 100 employees. And you'll be amazed of how many of those only have 10 employees or less, the majority. Every year, we have a net of 9,000 new S&P companies starting up in this country. So I think only 1,000 leaves, but a total net of 9K is a lot. Overall, they employed over 5 million people. So S&P companies employ over 5 million people. And if you add to those over 2.5 self-employed, you have a large workforce for the entire population of Canada. Interesting is you have the businesses over 1 million. They have over 2.5 million locations all across Canada. Of course, 1 million, one company will have many branches or restaurants or whatever. But the part that I always found really interesting coming to Canada is that of those 2.4 million locations, almost 60% of them are located in 2 provinces. I don't know if you would guess which are those 2 provinces. Just one guess.
Ontario and Alberta.
Huh? Ontario and Quebec. Yeah. So that gives you a good interesting insight that when we do marketing activities, if you don't have enough budget, it's better to focus on the 2 provinces. Also, it gives you another one, which is French. And one of the things, as Chair was mentioning, we're different in Canada. And I represent an American company, so we have to report to the U.S. and they don't get it. Hey, I always say, guys, we speak 2 languages. We do things differently here. So definitely that's part of the things I always use in my favor. And if they don't understand, I go in French. If I don't understand, I go in Spanish. But I need to make the point across that we're different. So not always, and corporations do take this as a given, that sometimes we have to adapt. And that's a very important part. So having said that, in the IT industry, the go-to-market for us is basically focused on channel partners and service providers. So that's very important. Majority of the businesses, especially if you think of the medium and large businesses, would not go to a store to buy. So they behave very differently. Only the very small business will still go to a retailer. So for example, in our case, HP sells lots of printers as staples because companies will still go there to buy a printer. But it's usually a one-off, not a networking printer, and they feel comfortable going there for the supplies. So that works for them. But for the rest of the business, we go through channel. So channel marketing is essential. Another thing that I find interesting is on the small business itself, of all the trends, the new things that have changed, and we're talking about how things go so fast. One thing that changed drastically also for IT is the consumerization of IT. So employees have become mobile, where we're saying about the phone 150 times. So you can basically today work out of your phone. Also tablets and also laptops. So basically the small medium businesses have been more open for employees to bring their own device. So that faces an interesting fact or trend when we are actually trying to market to those companies. The other one is social media. Social media, and Chair was saying, and it's completely true, we spend crazy amount of time online. We do search, personally or for business. So we're searching all the time. We're spending a lot of time looking for the product, for the services, whatever meets my objective online. What happens in Canada, and more on the consumer base, or the consumer perspective, we're still gonna go to a store and buy. And I always say that it's part of the structure of Canada because we're very concentrated in only a few number of cities, and basically a store like Staples, Best Buy, Future Shop, well, not Future Shop anymore, but any place where you can buy technology is maybe 15 minutes away in a ride, on average, and then you want to pick up a Tim Horton on the way or back or in, so you actually go like going out. In the case of SMBs, they will either rely on peers. If you're a small company, you're the owner, and you might know you do all the roles in your company. You do human resources, you do management, you do sales, and you do marketing, and you do IT. So what do? You go online, or you ask a person that you trust for for a recommendation. If you're a bigger company, in this case, you will have an IT professional working for you. That IT professional might rely on product demos. So demos are really important in the case of hardware as well as solutions. They also will go online to find white papers. So this is when content marketing is really important, and we don't do a great job in that. So that's the opportunity. We also work, an IT professional will also refer to peers or to what happens online. So when a company either a small or medium business will go out to buy, he acts differently from a consumer. In the consumer space, a lot of things affect. In the case of a company, the first one, according to the information that I was able to gather, is what is it that I'm gonna purchase? It all depends on if it meets my goals. So my business goals are the first thing I'm thinking of, whether it's a growth opportunity, I'm expanding, or maybe I'm going to a specific market. So when I'm thinking of my requirement for IT perspective, the goals are really key. Second one is whatever solution, hardware, solution, software, it has to be scalable. So I should be able to buy first a few sets of computers and a printer, and being able to then, if I grow, to have a scale, to make it larger. Same thing with software. It has to be scalable. I don't want to buy the company that I will be in 5 years. I want to buy the smallest version that I need and grow with it. And brands are really key also. So reliable brands. That's where a company like HP that has a history in Canada. So HP was founded 75 years ago, and we celebrate close to 45 years in Canada. So we have that brand recognition also in Canadian perspective. And as Chair was saying, our company name is HP Canada, Hewlett-Packard Canada. So we have that connotation here. Only in number 7, price. So not always price is the driver, especially in a company. It's more for the consumer that we act more for impulse. A company definitely has to have facts, they have to have the specs, they have to have the business goals set up, and then they make a decision according to recommendations, white papers, and so on. So this is an overview of the stats. I just want to take a couple more minutes. I don't know if I'm standing. I'm good. Things that have worked for me well in doing this role. And the first one is a little bit outside from the digital world. It's talking about sales enablement tools for the sales team. So one thing I did from my start was an understanding that my first customer as marketeer is the sales team or the channel organization. So basically I spend time with them listening or asking questions, and I realized that we were overwhelmed with emails, digital assets, information that were scattered. And it's a little bit of our not having a good solution in having a hub for everything. So the sales rep had a lot of issues in putting together a presentation, or sometimes they try to make up their own brochures. So one thing we did a few years ago is that we went back and said, you know what, guys, we have a lot of content, but it seems like it's locked inside our servers. So we started bringing those to life and printing them, providing them that the sales rep can use in engagements or customer visits. They could leave it behind. And some of them went on and started direct mailing them when they didn't have the capability of going to the customer. That worked really, really well. But the most important thing I like to reinforce is the fact that we detected the need for our own internal customers. They went to give us ideas, and then we executed. Also, with a profile of products that is so large, in our case, we have many divisions, many group of products. It was good to have them in a brochure base. You have a hero product, but then the rest of the catalog is there. And when we leave behind this information, the customer is able to basically review it. So that worked very well. In the same thought, we started creating event toolkits as well as demo kits. So basically, today a rep can order online a case full of Polo banners and a case full of demo products in the case of laptops. So we have our latest and greatest products in a case. We even included some collateral. And we actually created something that is really interesting. It's called NFC technology. So their collateral now has the capability that if you use your smartphone and you tap on it, it will take you to a URL where we uploaded, like in a library, all the additional digital content for that particular category. They found this very useful, and we were able to finally track it. Because when you print something, it's hard to track. When you go to the digital world, it's perfectly trackable. So that one worked very well. The last best practice is around lead generation. And lead generation is actually, for me, it's one of the toughest part of the SMB or channel world, because it's very hard. We especially in Canada, we cannot just send an email to anybody. We have CASM that prevents us from doing that. So telemarketing works, but we're all very tired of telemarketers. So we're working now on a very interesting project with LinkedIn. It's called the LinkedIn Lead Acceleration tool or program, in which actually they act as a funnel through content that we sponsor, and basically bringing the people who are really interested in the content or the products that we are actually offering. One thing I do agree very much is that sometimes our brands tend to do a lot of hard selling and people push back. I do feel that we need some level of branding, brand relevance, but I like how you position the fact that you put in credits or you're doing deposits, so credits or deposits into people's mind or into people's awareness. So when they hit the moment of buying, they're there, you're there. So it's a good combination. The lead generation process or the lead generation tools definitely is one of the right tools to work with the ever-changing audience. That people have different needs and different possibilities, and also for a company like us that have different products, from the PC, from the printers, for all the different software that we offer. So definitely we've been trying to focus more on vertical customers and trying to create leads that we can actually track.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Wow. I mean,
I don't know if it went too far.
No, that was fine. Specifically, the question that comes to mind, because the small, medium business segment is so huge, and you mentioned so many of those businesses have less than 10 people.
Yes.
So a lot of them are going in through the click and mortar sort of, they check out online and then they go into the store and they either test or demo those products in the store. They purchase one-for-one printers or computers. But how, when you're working with those commercial partners, so Staples and Best Buy, for example, how do you make sure that your branding and in communication messages stay consistent in the store, and that experience that they have as an individual business owner who's going in to buy that stuff? Because that must be a nightmare, because they're not your salespeople anymore. You're now relying on your commercial partners to do that.
Yeah. So you're talking about the last 3 feet, and it's more for, I did mention the very small company will act as a consumer, but that's basically achieved as an agreement with the retailer.
Right.
So basically you pay and they basically let you position your branding. That one is not as hard, it's just very expensive.
Right.
The one that is actually, I find really more challenging is with channel partners.
Okay.
So I was talking to somebody about Cinex or Tech Data. These are large organizations that sells to larger companies. Those are the ones that actually we have, we always have big challenge, because you need to be in top of mind, or you need to offer the right incentive, or you need to be basically there every day. So what I found personally is that these sales enablement tools, whether it's a brochure, whether it's a link to a digital asset, or the assets that they can use to promote our brand, those are the ones that make a lot of sense for them. So they repurpose, or they take our content and they do their own branding. But those are the ones that actually are most harder in SMB. That's the biggest challenge,
Right.
working with channels, because they're also competing. We're competing with them in the marketplace. We're competing with at their own organizations with other companies, and basically it's a lot about the mind share and the benefits that they get out of you versus what they get out of their competitors. So that one is very, very tricky.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Managing so many moving parts, and I like how you were innovative in your role as far as how you took a look at the resources and the digital resources that you had to equip those partners with information, with your sales team as well, with those demo kits, and that's really important that you were innovative on the job. Would you think that as a part of your climb to success, and you've achieved quite a bit of success, that innovation as far as how you approached your job and looking for holes and filling the holes with solution was a big part of your success?
I think you got it right. I think it's in my case I do try to fill up the gaps or make connections that maybe we don't see at first sight, trying to connect things that don't seem related. But also I'm very humble in trying to hear what people have to say. So I do love and spend time just listening and basically engaging with people. I'm really bad with emails, for instance, because I do a trade-off. I try to say, you know what, I need to learn from other people in my company, or going out and have a conversation with a customer. Something has to suffer. So in my case, it's email. But definitely finding, and sometimes it's not having the idea, it's recognizing a good idea on somebody else, and then trying to make it happen is the big deal.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, we're going to be taking more questions at the end from you guys.
I've been in the advertising business, and when you launch an advertising campaign, within like maybe days or months, you'll be able to understand the implication in terms of how much you've achieved, whether it's been increased sales or awareness. And when you talk about content marketing or PR, I mean, it's not going to happen that fast, I presume. And I also want to know, what's the fine line between content marketing and PR? Is it like two sides to the same coin?
One of the things he asked about the measurements, they do come longer term. Sometimes the fact, and I like what you said about the deposits or that you do in customers, but it is a lower pace. And what happens in corporations is that you have so much challenge in meeting quota that sometimes people might not, what he calls it clients, it could be a company like us, managers, they need to meet the numbers. So we sometimes are a bit more desperate and don't rely on more of a longer term, because we need to meet the quota now. Exactly. So that sometimes is as a marketer, and you have a budget, and it's a choice point. And sometimes it's hard to find the right balance. You do need, I think Chair mentioned, you do need a portfolio of strategies. It cannot only be one at any given time, because you should have ideally, your short term, your medium, and your long term. And I think where PR plays an amazing role, as well as content, is more on those levels, at least my perspective.
My question is for Esteban. I would like to know more about the SMB acceptance towards cloud-based solutions.
Okay.
Yes, and because right now cloud is being a hit in enterprise sector. But what is the opinion of an SMB when they purchase? Do they do for the consideration is more towards the price, security, and what is the approach while they buy cloud-based solutions?
Yeah, my understanding about cloud in Canada, especially, we are very conservative. So we would only start doing stages, like a stage. Let me see a test. The biggest concern in Canada is that your data might be not in Canada. So that's one thing. Even in IDC meeting, they were talking about when we hear cloud, people are already pushing back.
Yeah.
So it's first that you don't want to have a possibility of having your data in another country. that will have different regulations from than Canada, and also the fact that you want to try it first at a very small level. So testing is actually really required in SMB, especially SMB, and even larger corporations are all very take a very conservative approach towards cloud.